They turned the tide of the war in the Pacific and smashed the industrial heart of Germany. From the biplanes of the 1930s to the dawn of the jet age. This is the complete catalog of American air power, the wings of liberty. Let's start with the pre-war and early Army fighters. P-26 Peashooter, the relic, an open cockpit monoplane with fixed landing gear. Though totally obsolete by Pearl Harbor, it was the first all-metal fighter of the Air Corps and saw brief combat in the Philippines. P-35 Seversky, the transition. It introduced retractable landing gear and an enclosed cockpit. It was the grandfather of the P-47 Thunderbolt, serving desperately in the early defense of the Philippines. P-36 Hawk, the contender, the best fighter the U.S. had in the late 30s. Though outclassed by the Zero, its agile airframe proved deadly in the hands of French pilots early in the war. P-39 Airacobra, the tank buster, unique for having its engine behind the pilot and a massive 37mm cannon in the nose. Rejected by the British, it found legendary success with the Soviet Union on the Eastern Front. P-40 Warhawk, the rugged survivor, famous for the shark mouth paint of the Flying Tigers. It wasn't the fastest, but it was tough, well-armored, and could outdive almost any Japanese opponent. P-43 Lancer, the high-altitude step, a development of the P-35 and predecessor to the Thunderbolt. While it saw little combat, it was vital for developing the turbo-superchargers used in later fighters. P-63 King Cobra, the export, an improved, larger version of the Airacobra, almost exclusively sent to the Soviet Union, where it was used to hunt German bombers and tanks. Before we move to the next category, if you liked this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to Wardex for more military history. Next are the legendary Army fighters that won the war. P-38 Lightning, the fork-tailed devil, twin-engine, twin-boom design, possessed incredible range and concentrated firepower. It was the aircraft that shot down Admiral Yamamoto. P-47 Thunderbolt, the Jug, a 7-ton beast powered by a massive radial engine. It could absorb incredible punishment and carry a payload equal to a medium bomber. It ruled the skies over Europe as a ground attacker. P-51 Mustang, the Cadillac of the skies. When fitted with the British Merlin engine, it became the perfect escort fighter. It had the range to fly to Berlin and back, finally allowing bombers to destroy the Luftwaffe. P-61 Black Widow, the Night Hunter, the first American aircraft designed specifically for night fighting. Equipped with radar and a top turret, it stalked enemy planes in total darkness. P-70 Nighthawk, the makeshift night fighter, a modified A-20 Havoc bomber fitted with radar and a gun pod. It served in the Pacific until the Black Widow arrived. Now let's look at the dawn of the jet age. P-59 Aerocomet, the first jet, America's top-secret entry into the jet age. Though it was too slow for combat and never deployed, it trained the first generation of U.S. jet pilots. P-80 Shooting Star, the operational jet, sleek, fast, and deadly, for were sent to Europe just before the war ended, scouting German positions but never engaging the Me-262 in a dogfight. Moving on to the naval fighters designed for aircraft carriers. F-2A Buffalo, the Barrel, the Navy's first monoplane fighter. By 1941, it was hopelessly outclassed by the Japanese Zero, suffering heavy losses at Midway. F-3F, the Flying Barrel, the last biplane fighter of the U.S. Navy. Though retired from combat, it served as the primary trainer for early war naval aviators. F4F Wildcat, the holder of the line, tough and reliable. It couldn't turn with a Zero, but its thatch-weave tactics allowed U.S. pilots to hold the Pacific until better planes arrived. FM-2 Wildcat, the darker Wildcat, a lighter, more powerful version built by General Motors for operation from small escort carriers. It served as a submarine hunter and infantry support fighter. F6F Hellcat, the Ace Maker, designed specifically to kill the Zero. It was faster, climbed better, and was heavily armored. It accounted for 75% of all aerial victories recorded by the U.S. Navy. F-4U Corsair, the Whistling Death, instantly recognizable by its gull wings. The Marines used it from land bases to devastate Japanese forces before it was cleared for carrier use. F-7F Tiger Cat, the Heavy Cat, a twin-engine naval fighter designed for speed and firepower. It arrived too late for World War II combat but proved the concept of heavy carrier fighters. F6F Bearcat, the hot rod, smaller and lighter than the Hellcat but with a massive engine. It was designed to outperform late-war Japanese fighters but arrived just as the war ended. F6F Fireball, the mixed breed, a unique fighter with both a propeller in the front and a jet engine in the back. It was the Navy's transition into the jet age. Next is the category of attack and dive bombers. A-20 Havoc, the Strafer. Fast and maneuverable, it served as a light bomber and night fighter. It terrorized enemy supply lines in the Pacific and Europe. 24 Banshee, the Army's Dauntless, the Army Air Corps version of the Navy's SBD dive bomber. Lacking the carrier hook, it saw limited success in the Pacific. A-25 Shrike, the Army's Helldiver, the Army version of the SB-2C. Most were relegated to training or target towing duties as the Army preferred level bombers. A-26 Invader, the fast bomber, the replacement for the A-20. It was fast, heavily armed, and could be flown by a single pilot. It was so effective it served well into the Vietnam War. A-36 Apache, the diving Mustang, an early version of the P-51 fitted with dive brakes and reinforced wings. It served as a precision dive bomber in Sicily and Italy. SBD Dauntless, the hero of Midway, a slow dive bomber that changed the course of history. In one day, Dauntless squadrons sank 4 Japanese aircraft carriers. SB-2C Helldiver, the Beast, faster and heavier than the Dauntless, carrying a larger bomb load. Though difficult to handle, it pounded the Japanese fleet in the final years. SB-2U Vindicator, the Obsoletes, an early monoplane dive bomber. It served with the Marines at the Battle of Midway, where many were lost attempting to attack the Japanese fleet. Now for the heavy torpedo bombers. TBD Devastator, the Tragedy, obsolete at the start of the war. At Midway, nearly every Devastator launched was shot down, but their sacrifice drew enemy fighters away from the dive bombers. TBF Avenger, the Heavy Hitter, a rugged torpedo bomber that replaced the Devastator. It could carry a torpedo or a massive load of bombs, becoming the standard strike aircraft of the fleet. Next are the Naval Scouts and Patrol Aircraft. OS-2U Kingfisher, the Eyes of the Fleet, a float plane launched from battleships and cruisers to spot artillery fall. It also rescued countless downed airmen from the ocean. Sea Seagull, the biplane scout. Despite being a biplane, it served on U.S. cruisers throughout the entire war because it was rugged and reliable. SC Seahawk, the late scout, a modern, single-seat float plane designed to replace the Kingfisher and Seagull on warships late in the war. PBY Catalina, the flying boat, slow and ungainly, but possessed incredible range. It spotted the Japanese fleet at Midway and served as a specialized Black Cat night raider. PBM Mariner, the heavy boat, larger and more heavily armed than the Catalina. It served extensively in the Pacific as a long-range patrol bomber and transport. PB-2Y Coronado, the Giant, a massive 4-engine flying boat used for transoceanic transport and long-range bombing missions. J-2F Duck, the utility amphibian, a single-engine biplane with a large central float housing the landing gear. It was used for everything from rescue to VIP transport. Moving up in size, let's look at the medium bombers. B-18 BOLO, the Peacekeeper, based on the DC-2 airliner. It was the main bomber before the war, but was completely obsolete by 1941, serving mostly as an anti-submarine patrol plane. B-23 Dragon, the Evolution, an improvement of the BOLO with a better tail and wings. It was faster but still not combat capable, used primarily for training. B-25 Mitchell, the Raider, famous for the Doolittle Raid, a versatile bomber that could be fitted with a 75mm cannon for anti-shipping strikes. B-26 Marauder, the Widowmaker, fast and sleek, but unforgiving to inexperienced pilots. However, in combat, it had the lowest loss rate of any U.S. bomber. B-34 Ventura, the patrol bomber, developed from a Lockheed airliner, used by the Navy as the PV-1 and Army for coastal patrol and light bombing. Now, the strategic hammer, the heavy bombers. B-17 Flying Fortress, the Legend, famous for its ability to return home despite horrific battle damage. It led the daylight bombing campaign against Germany. B-24 Liberator, the Workhorse, built in greater numbers than any other American military aircraft. Longer range and faster than the B-17, serving in every theater. B-32 Dominator, the backup, developed as insurance in case the B-29 failed. It saw limited combat in the Pacific during the final days of the war. B-29 Superfortress, the future, pressurized, remote-control turrets, and massive range. It dropped the atomic bombs that ended the war. Finally, the vital transport aircraft, C-47 Skytrain, the Goonie Bird, the military DC-3. It dropped paratroopers on D-Day and flew supplies over the Himalayas. General Eisenhower called it one of the 4 weapons that won the war. C-46 Commando, the Whale, larger and more powerful than the C-47. It was the hero of the hump, flying dangerous supply missions over the high peaks of the Himalayas to keep China in the war. C-53 Skytrooper, the Specialist, a dedicated troop transport version of the Dakota. Unlike the C-47, it lacked the large cargo door and was fitted purely with seats to carry paratroopers into battle. From the canvas wings of the pea-shooter to the jet engines of the Shooting Star. This was the arsenal of democracy that conquered the skies.